So now we're going to be going through the wiring. Now this is the part that a lot of people don't understand how important it really is. This is the brain or the heart, I don't know, the nervous system, whichever one is most important of your car. It is so important that this is gone through 100% thoroughly several times. I've already went through this one about 5 times. It's going to take a couple of weeks before you start to understand what is even going on in this wiring harness, the way that it was wired up. The electronics didn't come out until like 77, 8, and 9 with the electronic distributor. That was the first like little computer thing they ever put on these cars. Everything else is mechanical. This is a mechanical key buzzer, the relays, everything on this car, switches, are all 100% mechanical. Okay, so the first part of going through your wiring harness is you have to have a wiring diagram. Okay, if you think for some reason that this is pointless, that this is all common sense, you don't need this, good luck, because you will never know shit about your car, and you will be 100 years old and you still will be guessing and speculating what all these things do and have no fucking clue, and then go down to the next generation and teach them all the bullshit that you never took the time to learn. Okay, so I get so sick of people that act like this is stupid, you don't need a wire diagram. Okay, you have to have it. Go buy it. This is $10 on eBay. The assembly manual has one in it, but it's difficult to hold it open, so I like to carry this one. And you're going to spend a lot of time in this book if you want to understand the way your car works, and if you want everything to work 100%. Now the problem is that this is 45, 46 years old. There is no telling what people have went back and done to this wiring harness. That's why every single wire has to be checked 100%. Okay, so 70 through 72, they have the same wiring harness, but they're not wired the same. But you can get a wiring harness from a 72. That's what this is. But whatever year your car is, you will need to get the correct year. These wiring harnesses are not interchangeable. So just be aware of that you're not going to get a 70 harness and put it in a 71. They are wired different. And another thing is that in these wiring diagrams, they don't give the wiring for the tack with gauges. They only have the dummy light wiring. So if you're going to put the tack and gauges on there, you're going to have to buy a kit off of eBay. I have a video in here showing how I did all my instruments. But the wiring is in this book is for the dummy light wiring harness. Okay, now you're going to have a multimeter. So as far as a multimeter, this is a cheap one from O'Reilly. It's like $20. You don't need one like this. This is for professionals. Like, in other words, when I'm in a panel, I use this one because it has a magnet. It has neat functions on it. You don't need this when you work on your car, so don't think you have to have an expensive one. This one is perfect. This is actually my favorite one because if you drop it, it's not gonna freak you out. It's very durable. It's around $50 or $60. I actually love this one. I don't know why. The things you got to familiarize yourself with is continuity test. That's the main thing you're going to be doing when you test this harness. That's this little arrow thing right there. It's real simple, but that's what you're going to be using going through this wiring harness. Now, the problem with the cheaper multimeters is, see, they work, no resistance, but it's quiet. And these things will run your battery down because they got to be flipped to off. Okay, so that's the only problem why I don't recommend buying a cheap one unless that's all you can get. $60 one, listen to it. See, has a nice chirp, works perfect, no resistance. See, I actually like this sound better. That's how come I use this one in all my videos. Like I said, this is the one I use at work. You don't need it. If you have a bad wire or something's going on there wrong, you'll have resistance. Okay, see, we have no resistance right there. We'll check a few wires, but this is also important because in some of these cars they actually have resisted wires, and you need to make sure or be aware of those, especially if you're retrofitting. You got to get rid of them. I get the harness like this with the insulation off of it and literally check every single freaking wire on this thing 20 times each. Now, one of the problems when you're looking at these wiring diagrams is it takes you a while to figure out how to look at this. Okay, so on this one you're looking at it like this, and it's very freaking confusing. I promise you it's going to confuse the hell out of you, but take the time and try to figure out exactly what orientation this is talking about, because so you might think, oh, they're talking about it like that. No, and I'm telling you, every single plug is going to confuse you, but just be patient, don't give up on it, you will figure it out. Okay, so just making that very clear that this is the dummy light wiring system. If you're running the mechanical voltmeter and amp meter and gauges and stuff like that, the wiring is going to be totally different. You're going to have to buy a kit on eBay and it's going to come with the instructions. Just letting you know that. Very important. If you wire it up like this and you're putting the tack with all the gauges on there, you're going to have to change it all up. So you might as well get all that stuff first before you even start wiring this up. Let's check out the continuity test. Okay, so I've already been through this 50 times. I'm trying to memorize all these wires in here. So what we do is we just find the purple right here, and we're doing this with every single wire, and we're going to try to find it in the harness. I have to wire in the neutral safety switch because I converted this to a standard. So you get what I'm saying? You're finding every wire in the wiring harness, and you're making sure there's no resistance on it. We do this every single freaking wire 20 times each. All right, let's do another one. Okay, power wire. Let's go into ignition switch. Okay. So you kind of get the idea of just all continuity tests. We're just making sure there's no resistance in the wire. If you have resistance in the wire, even like a 0.2 or point anything, you really need to strip it back. And you will, a lot of times you will find something that's shorted out in this harness. On this harness, I'm not even lying, I made about 15 repairs on it. A lot of people don't do it. They just put it in their car. Next thing you know, you crank your car and you got burnt smell coming from somewhere. And by then, when that happens, it's already too late. You're going to have to rip your harness apart. You're going to find all kinds of crap shorted out in there. See how I found grounds cut. Fix that. You're going through one of these cars and you're going to run vintage AC. You rather get you a non-AC wiring harness. The AC wiring harness is going to have a whole bunch of extra crap on it. But you see, this is a non-AC wiring harness, and this is all it has going to the resistor for the blower motor and the plug on the heater controls. So like I said, if you're not going to run AC, if you're going to run vintage air or no AC, try to find you a non-AC wiring harness. Okay, so after you trace every wire, you're going to find stuff in here that doesn't add up, that doesn't make sense with the wiring diagram. You're going to find extra little wires added that don't make any sense, but that's why you need to test everything, and you'll actually find like secret wires in here. Okay, so I have a clock video where I kind of got a clock working, and the problem with those clocks is they stayed on 24 hours and they burnt the contacts up. So this is the original wire from the battery that stays on 24 hours. I thought I was going to have to add something in the harness, but I found this extra little wire coming off of the radio that wasn't in the wiring diagram. And guess what? Now I got a hot on with the key. And you see what I'm saying? After going through the wiring harness, I didn't have to add anything. I just used this existing wiring. I think this went to that TCS solenoid or TPS, some kind of solenoid. I've never seen one in my life, but it's pointless. Get you that wiring diagram. You're going to have to spend a lot of time, but I promise you, after a while, you will know every wire in here by heart and everything will work perfect. When I put this on the car, there's not going to be one shorted wire. Everything's going to work perfect, but it did take me a couple of weeks to learn how to do this. So don't get mad if you go out there and you can't figure it out in one day. So now we're going to attempt to put the wiring harness on the dash. We're trying to keep it as light as possible. Now you can put the cluster in while it's in the car, but I have the windshield out of mind to make it a lot easier. So you put your cluster in if you think you need to, but remember, you're going to have to put the headlight switch in there, and that can be a little bit difficult when it's in the car. The reason I'm making this video is because this dash is simplified. You see how we deleted all the vents and everything, so there's no crap in this dash. You're going to be able to see how to wire it up real easy. Okay, so this is very confusing to do this, but this is the way it's supposed to be done. I'm not wrapping this harness up because I don't wrap them up until I test everything and everything works. When I put the AC in the car, I'm going to pull the dash back out and wrap it. We're going to go ahead and put a dummy cluster in it because it has these two things that stick on the cluster. Okay, get those on there. Just kind of get everything in position, make sure it's not tangled up. This is the headlight switch. All this stuff goes right here. We're gonna have to hook the windshield wipers on. This has to go on right now. Okay, so now these three grounds are the ones that are very important. I've kind of already figured out where they go. Like I said, I've had cars where they were all fastened right here, but no, that you don't want to do that. Okay, so the longest one, we're going to ground this to the emergency brake housing. So we're not going to do that one right now. One of these goes to the cluster right here. We're not doing it right now. And one of them goes right here with the grounding strap. We're going to go ahead and do this one right now. This dash is going in my car to work, and it's not coming out until I put vintage air in my car. So this is a legit, for real job. We're not cutting no corners, nothing's fake in this video. So we got two other grounds. One goes to the cluster and one goes to the emergency brake pedal. We're not going to put those in yet, but get them out of the way. And that's what I was talking about, going over and over and over the wiring harness with the diagrams. I promise you, after a while, you will memorize every single wire and be able to look at anything and know exactly where it goes. But you will never understand that if you don't take the insulation off, follow each wire, find out exactly what it does. And if you really want to understand these cars, I'm serious about that, because go ask a dude that doesn't do wiring diagrams, how's the key buzzer wired in there? Well, I don't know. I used to just unhook them damn things. Okay. You know why they have a key buzzer in them? Because these cars were points ignition, and if you left the damn ignition on, it burned the points up. So this is absolutely very freaking necessary if you're running points ignition. I'm going to see how annoying it is and unhook it if it is. I have electronic ignition. It's not a big deal, but if you're running points ignition, that's why they put that annoying buzzing thing in there. So we have the original for the clock. We're not using that for the battery, but no, we now know that we have a hot that we could run anything we want to off of it. Now this goes to, what are those things called, man? I forgot. It's like they do the signal light click and the hazard light click. It's a little round thing. I don't remember what the hell those things are called, but there's one on your pedal housing that goes right here. Okay, so we're just kind of laying this wiring harness out. So now all this section going in right here goes to your ignition switch on the bottom of the column, the signal light switch. We're gonna have to wire in the neutral safety switch on an automatic car. These purples go through these neutral safety on the bottom of the column. Mine, I'm gonna have to rig it because I changed it to a 4-speed. Brake lights, and then this is for the reverse lights. Now I think this is on the bottom of a column for reverse and neutral safety, but mine I'm gonna have to change to a 4-speed, so I'm gonna have to wire this into a switch on the back of the transmission. So just so we know what these are, in case you have no idea, they're gonna branch off like that. Now these are super rare radio wires. See the colors? Remember I said they had an extra one that's now gonna go turn my clock on with the key. Clock in this hole right here. Okay, so when you're going through yours, if you do have these intact, it's just like a late model car. The black is always the ground, the gray is illumination. So these cars are old, but they do have the illumination light that dims and gets brighter. And then hot on with the key yellow. I didn't have a yellow wire, just used a red, but we understand that. But they do have illumination on these cars. So this would be the original one to the heater control. I'm not using it. It also goes through the resistor. I'm not using any of this, but I didn't cut it because I'm using vintage air, and I do have power wire here if I need one. So you can put the cigarette lighter on when it's on the car, and then this right here, we're not using it, but that's where it goes. Now we got this little clip thing. Right there. Kind of twisted it in there, get our glove box light on. I don't know, I guess we'll find out if it goes on one way or the other. It seems like it shouldn't, but I think it does when I tested it. Okay, so like I said, we got mystery plug right here. Don't know where that goes. This is very important. This is for your courtesy lights. It goes in here. I think it had a little tab that goes right here. See how it's squared off. We'll figure that out when we get it on the car. But for right now, we're just leaving this hanging. Okay, so if you don't understand, these are very important. They actually come apart, look. Like that. What they do is they ground out for your courtesy lights. So right there, see, it's breaking the ground when the door's closed. When the door opens, it grounds this out, turns on all your courtesy lights, like your dome light and stuff. This is very important to have this on here. You got this one on this side, and then you have the double one on this side. We have the switch off of it, but you got a double one on this side. Now the only thing about this mystery plug is that I'm leaving it on there because if you look over here, after going through the wiring harness, I have these two wires from mystery plug. And I think that in the harness, this was actually a power wire. But that's why I was talking about going through every wire, because we know plug X, if we're trying to add something or trying to troubleshoot something, we have these 2 extra wires in the harness that go all the way through there. You get what I'm saying? In case we're trying to add accessories or something fancy. And I would have never known that if I hadn't gone through the wiring harness. Oh yeah, I forgot this one for the instruments goes. It only goes in one way. So that's actually pretty crazy how light the dash is. That's why I'm trying to make this video, to show you that you don't need to put the cluster in there right now. You can add this in there, but you just need to look very closely the way it screws. It's got 2 down at the bottom and it's got 2 at the end. Familiarize yourself with everything. The heater controls, you probably, if you got heater controls and you have it all factory, you probably want to go ahead and put the heater controls in the vent end, simply because you have to sometimes jerk those around to get all this in place. And if you have the vent in this, it can be very complicated the way it's in there. Okay, so down here you're going to have this plug that goes to the one that runs on the floor to the back of the car. This has a little switch that you can remove it, that goes to the emergency brake pedal, and then this to your high beam switch. Okay, so that's all that this video is. We're just getting it, we're just going through the wiring, getting it on the dash, or we can go put it in the car. Now I'm going to have a video after this installing the dash with wiring. We're going to go over the firewall installation, the under dash installation. We're going to stick this in the car and we're going to hook everything up, change the cluster, headlight switch, to give you a real good idea how to do this. But the whole point of this video is we're trying to assemble this dash with the wiring as light as possible, so that we can easily go do this without any problems, because the dash gets super freaking heavy when you have everything on it. That's it for the video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.